Hey, my name is Jacob Ouma, but commonly known as Joby, and I'm the managing director and founder of Ad Media Communications Company. This is a PR and communications company based in Nairobi, and we've been around for 12 years now. I attended my high school in a very prestigious school in the Western region called St. Mary's School, Yala. So this was essentially my dream school when I was in primary. That time I was in Nairobi, and man, that school was just, everyone who was in LBPS, you know how life was there. So I just knew if I stayed in Nairobi, there was no way I'm going to make it to that school that I wanted, because my best friend and next door neighbor had gone to Shags and was called to that school. So I said, yeah, I also want to go to Shags. I remember when I said that, it came as a surprise to my dad, because going to Shags was like the punishment when we were growing up for not performing. So my dad couldn't understand how I was a good performer, but I still had to insist on going to Shags. But I had seen what my elder sis and my bro had done, because they had been taken to Shags and they performed so well. And I wanted to emulate that, despite, I was always top of my class and leading, but I knew if I hung around that place, there was no way I was going to be competitive enough. So there I went to Shags, Awinga Primary School. Man, that school was just amazing in all funny sense of way. First, I had to ditch my shoes at some point, because everyone is going barefoot. So what am I doing in school with shoes? So I came to realize actually the sand and the soil is very nice on the legs. So I started going barefoot like everyone else. And man, the caning on that school was on steroids. Yani, you'd be canned for anything. And then there was no electricity, so you have to come home, cook with these lanterns and all that before you go back to school. And man, life was hell. As in that year was tough, because it's the same year that I lost my mom and I was alone in Shags. So just adjusting to all that, adjusting to all that was happening in my life and still trying to maintain focus, that was really, really something. So I topped the class. I was the first index. When I went there, I became index 1, and I knew, so the system goes on. But Shags was very competitive. So at times you're number 1, at times 2, at times 3, at times 1, 2, 3. So it always used to be some stiff competition. Until finally, we did the final exams, and I got the calling letter to St. Mary's Yala. So that is where now my high school journeys began. Day one, I'm there with my father. So we've gone with my dad, and I have my shopping. Now I'm from Nairobi, when somebody talks to you, you say, yeah. Hey, man, there was this teacher, but I used to call him Abacha, salute. He was the one actually signing me up, and so he asked me a question, I'm like, yeah. Hey, the guy just said say, yes, sir. Hey, I sat up, and my dad knew now, nimeingia kambi. Yani, this is where he wanted me to be. I knew hapa vitu kwa ground different. Yani, then you're there carrying your box, and you're from Primo, where you are the guys who used to be the it. Hey, first you see guys, but rugby guys who look like teachers. You're like, how is this guy even a student? Man, and then everybody looks alike. Yani watu wanafanana. I remember, somebody comes to your queue, but from one, nisaidie plate. You give him the plate. By evening, you don't know who it was, because everyone looks the same. So there are people who would go just take advantage of that confused state of Form 1s and fish anything they can in that shortest span. I'm telling you that week 1, by the first month, I think half of my uniform was raided. We used to say raid. So I had to learn to survive. The shirt you wear is the one that you wash, and you hang it on the bed, and you hope it dries by morning. Because if you hang it outside, my friend, you won't get it. So that was a very interesting first month. So what happened is I came to realize the only way I'm going to survive in this school is to always be out of school. So there used to be outings like every weekend. Man, I used to be in every club. There is no weekend that would find me in school. Drama niko. Sijui French club niko. Agriculture niko. Geography niko. You know, you're going to this sijui science club. You're asked like, mumefika topic gani, you're trying to hit on this chick. You don't even know those topics. You're like, let's not discuss books. We are here to have fun, you know? And then you're coming from primary where you're index 1. Now here, you are a combination of index 1s from the whole province. Now you're trying to size yourself up. Where will I land? Manze, the first results come. You realize hapa vitu ni different. Yani, it's not the same. Hapa kila mtu ni chop. So, my high school experience is actually broken into 2. There is the first bit where I was a serious joker, and the second bit where I was serious academically and focused. So the first half was basically like gliding through holiday, skiving. You know, we used to have like chapel every day. Mimi nani bana, we used to sleep. Yani you sleep mpaka, people are waking up at 5, me I used to wake up at 7. You find a way of just hanging in there so that you just get 2 hours of extra sleep. So that was my first half of high school. And then not being in school, like, ukisota tu hivi, mimi huyo, I remember that time we used to fake sickness. I would talk to my buddy, my best friend that time, and we would say like, hey, Joby, wewe ni mgonjwa? Namwambia, hey, mimi ni mgonjwa. And then you do your eyes like this, they become red. And then you go to the depth. Like you have really shrunk yourself, and you're like, yeah, manze, mwalimu, I'm sick, I need to go to the hospital. Of course, he'll tell you go to Yala Health Center, which is just there, and you come back. I'll be like, no, me, I have a specialized doctor. I have to go to Siaya. So he's like, okay, amekupatia sheet, toka, enda hosi, rudi by 5. Hey, the time I hit the gate nikitoka hivi, the next thing ni Eldoret Express. You flag it down, mimi huyo mpaka Nairobi. I fika home, my dad is there like, kwani you've come? I would tell my dad, by there I've come cause umenitupa sana bana, I'm broke. Pesa alofu ilisha. So my dad is like, so what's the deal? I'm like, wacha nikae kama 5 days. Juu our school didn't have midterm. Midterm ilikuwa ni bidii yako. Yani wewe ndio ujitafutie, ujipatie midterm na ukao. So that's how we used to operate. So of course there's no way you will perform with that. So that was a life. Manze, high school. And then peer pressure, you know. Me, the things people do in campus, because I had lost my mom early, and then my dad wasn't around. So imagine you're living in Langata, alone, as siblings. No pero to give you curfews. Me, I've never known what a curfew is, because from the time I was Form 1, ilikuwa tunakula sherehe when we wanted to kula sherehe, and when you don't want is when you don't. So we learned to have our own restraints as me and my siblings. So life was quite on the fast lane, you know. Life was on the fast lane. So I remember biology came first term. Hey, boss, my friend. You know those days, there was this Chordata, sijui Kingdom, Phylum, what. Manze, you're seeing this Panthera Leo, sijui Panthera Padis, I don't know what. You're like, what on earth are these? And then I'm supposed to, this is what you are starting with, classification 1 and 2. Bad idea. Me, I switched off. In bio. Kabisa kem ndo hiyo pia. Sijui you mix pink and blue, sijui inatokea kala gani, how? Mimi nilifanya colors art and craft, najua red and green inakuwa hii rangi, yellow plus blue inakuwa hii rangi. Sasa unapata marangi zingine za chemicals, and you're supposed to cram how they become. So kem pia mimi huyo ije. CRE, manze, CRE was a disaster. Yani, I think the highest I ever got was 36% in CRE that time. So mimi nilikuwa nakufa na history na French. Hizo ndio zilikuwa zangu. You know, at least I was good in those ones. Maths, I was out completely.